Hello everybody, welcome back to my React training series. In the last session, we learned about creating the custom component and loading images from the URL directly, how to implement the custom component. And now in this tutorial, we will be going to learn about state management. State management using useState hook inside React, how to work with events, and a small array CRUD operation. So let's dive into the coding and learn about how to create a CRUD operation using state management in React. So for that, we will be creating a new component. So for creating the new component, I just create a file named as statemanagementreact.js file. We will create a function over here. So we say export default. The function name should be the file name. So I give it as state management. As we created a function over here. Export default function and the function name. Now over here we have to create constant over here, so it is giving an IntelliSense over here. Now what it does, in useState we have to define it as a constant. So we define a constant over here named as items, and the second part in the square bracket will be the name of the event which has to be fired to fill this particular state. So over here we can directly give as useState instead of react.useState. We define it as useState, and as you press enter, you observe you get an import over here named as useState from React, and inside that we have to pass a blank. So we'll be giving it as an array over here. So defining a useState constant is const square brackets and the constant name, and then the event which will be binding that particular items or filling that particular state. So that is state set items, and we give as useState. Now useState constructor has to be passed with a value or a blank array. So right now items will be multiple items which will be saving using your CRUD operation. So that is your square bracket over here. We again define a different state, a next state that is for editing that array and inputting values. So I give a name as input value. Game name as set input value equals to, again we use useState, and inside that we pass a blank value. So this is just a single value, so we give single quotes over here. So that state will be initially blank, and this will be a state which will be initially blank, but it will contain an array, a blank array. So we defined two states objects over here. The third state object which we want to create is for the edit index. So we define it as edit index, and we define the function as set edit index, and that also we define as useState. So say useState, and we define as null. We are passing blank over here. So define three state objects using your useState. One is items, that is an array. Second is input value, that will be from the text box, and for editing we pass a state as edit index. So this is how you create a state object, that is using useState hook. Now we have to define a const function to handle the input change. So for that we define as input change function, and in that input change function we define it as an ES6 function. So ES6 would be an arrow function, and that arrow function we define it this way. Inside that arrow function we pass the object of event as a E over here, and then we call set input value. So this will fill this input value variable. So set input value, and we call it as e dot target dot value. So this function is for handling the input change will be fired on the text box change. So that is handle input change. We create an ES6 function with a parameter as E, that is event, and set input value. We call the useState object, initialize that useState object by e dot target dot value. Next function, that is const, we will be defining as handle add items, and we define it as handle add item equals to again the same thing, ES6 arrow function, and in that arrow function we don't need any parameters over here. We check as handle input value, that is input value dot trim. We trim the input value is not equal to blank. So if something has been input inside your text box, we trim it and it should not be equal to blank, and in that if loop we say set items. So now we are setting the CRUD operation items, that is the array over here. So we call set items, and set items we define it as function, and over here you say dot 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 items. Now what this dot 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 items means? This is a spread operator. Now what spread operator actually does? Spread operator is used to create a copy of an array. Now this is an array. Now what we want to do is we want to add items to the existing items. First time the items will be null, it won't be having anything, but once a single item is added, that should be copied inside an array. So this will create a copy of this array, that is dot 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 items, and then we give the actual item, that is input value. So what actually will happen is it will create an object of this items but a copy, that is dot 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 items. This is a copy of the actual items, and then the new value, input value, which will be over here trimmed, and it will be passed over here. So this will first time add an item. Then again we call the set input value, and we done it blank. So this function will be called on the button event for adding the item. So this constant is done. The next const we want to define is we want to handle edit item. So we define a function as handle, and we change the name as edit item, and in edit item we have to pass an index. Now why an index? Whenever the items will be an array 1 2 3 4, that will be starting with 0 1 2 and so on, which item has to be edited is to be done using this index variable. The parameter to handle edit item will be an index, the index of the item which you want to edit. Now for that again we call set input value, because we want to fill the text box. So set input value, and we again call the items array and square bracket and the index over here. So now in edit what will happen is the text box will be filled with the item which is clicked for edit. We will be creating a grid like structure or an li structure on which it will be clicked, and then it will be filled inside your text box. So that is done over here, set input value, and we again say set edit index equals to index. So your editing is to index will be changed to the index of the item which will be clicked over here. Next function we want to define is update. This will just fill the text box. Now the next item is for updating, so that is function const we define as handle update item, and inside your update item what we will be doing is again an ES6 arrow function. So in that arrow function we say if the same checking has to be done, that is input value is not equal to blank. So input value dot trim is not equal to blank, and inside that loop, now what we have to do is we have to create a new const over here. Now that new const will be new const, and we created as updated item. We created as updated items equals to, we give a spread operator again, so we make a copy of the actual items inside it. So updated items will be containing and copy of the actual items which are existing in that array. Now that updated item has to be updated, so that updated item dot edit index equals to the input value, and then we say set items again, and set items has to be updated by the updated items. This will be done over here. Again we call set input value and we set it to blank, so that is null, so it will be again cleared, and set edit index also to be null. So how this is working, we again check it out. If input value dot trim, so that will be the text box which will be already pre-filled with the edit index, and then we create an updated item constants which we make a copy of the items array which is existing. So we have a copy of the existing items in updated item. Now what we want to do is we want to update that particular item with the new value. So we say updated items edit index equals to input value. So the new value will be set in your updated items array. Now we want to change the original items array. So we pass the value as set items by the new value, that is updated item array. Then we clear the text box and we clear the edit index. So this is for update. Now the last function which we want to define is handle delete item. So we give it a name as delete. Handle delete item equals to a ES6 function again, equals to, we give a bracket, and over here what we will be doing is we will be again passing the index of the item which has to be deleted. Now we define again an array updated items equals to the spread operator. We define it as items, that is actual items. Items dot, we use a function as filter. This is the JavaScript function filter, that is ES6 function. Filter is taking two parameters. Two parameters is the item and the index, but over here we don't have the item, so we just pass underscore over here, and the second value will be the index, so we will be passing I over here, and I arrow function, again say I is not equal to index. So this is a filter function. The first parameter we are passing is the I object, that is not equal to index, and then we again say set items by updated items. So this will filter the record with the index which is passed over here. So we are using the filter function which is again belonging to ES6 series functions. First parameter should be the item. We are not having item over here, we are having the index, so we pass underscore over here, then I say I arrow function, I is not equal to index. So this will delete a particular item. Last function we have to define is as const, and we say handle submit. So we define the name as handle submit. It should be a ES6 function again. We define it as an ES6 function, arrow function over here, and what we do is if edit index is not equal to null, then it should go in add. So then we say handle update item. Else we have to call the add item function, so that is handle add item. So the submit will be having two properties, two functions we are calling inside it, and this will be called inside your button. So button will be calling both the methods, the update method also and the add method also. If the edit index is set, then you have to call update item. If the edit index is not set, then you have to call add item. So this is how all the functions are now defined. Now at the bottom, we have to create the actual component. So for that, we define return inside it, return, and we create a div over here. Class name is app h1. We define a h1 over here, so that is a heading. We define it as state management. Inside state management, we define an input. So that input is input type equals to text, value equals to, we define the input value, that is the state over here, input value, and on change we are calling the handle input change method. So this is how you call an event on input change, that is on change. You call the function over here, that is handle input change. So it will set the input value as e.target.value. So this is how you call an event, and this is how you set the value. For setting the value, you use the value from the state. So this state value is passed over your text box. Now we create the next element, that is the button for submitting. So we create a button over here. Now in that button, we want to call the event. So that event for calling inside the button will be on click. So define on click over here, and inside on click we have to call the event which we want to call. So over here we define the event as handle submit. So we define it inside the curly bracket as handle submit. All the events will be popping up. So we define handle submit. Now inside the button, the text has to be conditional. If you are in editing mode, then it should display add or update item, and inside it should display add item if it is not. So it is something like this: edit index curly bracket. If this is set, then you call update item, or else you call add item. So the button is created. Now the actual array has to be printed. So that array has to be printed inside your UL. So we define a UL tag over here, and inside UL also the array is an items array. Now again we will be using the map function. Map function is also inside your JavaScript, advanced JavaScript, and for that we define again the curly bracket, and in that curly bracket we say items.map. Items.map will map the item inside it. The first parameter is the item, second is the index. So map function is inside written like this, and we define a ES6 function over here. So we are having a bracket over here and a curly bracket over here. We define it again, items.map, and map will be a function. So we define a function. Inside that function again we define a ES6 function. So that ES6 function has to be defined inside it. We define the parameters, that is item and the index. So that is index is defined over here, and then again we define it an array. So for that you have an arrow function. So arrow function is defined, and arrow function has to be called again, and this will be something like this. And inside that we define an li, and inside li what we will be doing is we will be passing a key. Now what is this key inside your map? Key inside a map in React is important, that is key has to be always defined, because we want to perform edit or delete or something. So that key will be holding that index. So that key value is the index value. So we define it as curly bracket and index, and the actual item has to be printed inside it. So that again goes in curly bracket and item will be printed. Next, we will be having two buttons over here. So button is button. We define it as on click. On click, we give a inline function. This is known as an inline function, and we want to handle edit item. We will passing the index and the button will be edit. Same way, a next button has to be defined. So we define the second button. We define on click event, on click, and inside on click curly bracket we define a ES6 inline function, and we call handle delete item, and it is also having an index over here. So that is done over here, and then we print delete on it. So this is your entire component created. Now we want to call that component inside your app.js. So we remove this first. We just comment it out. Over here we'll be calling that state management. So as you call it, it is compiling. It is being compiled. Item is not defined. Let me check. That is 20 line. Handle edit item. Okay, it should be items. That's my mistake. That's an array. So now let's check the application. We input some values. Next value. And you can observe that the value has been added to the array. Now we try to edit. If I click on edit, it will be printed over here, and I change the value. You can see the value is changed. Now let's have a quick look what exactly is happened and what we worked on. First and foremost, we declared a useState const named as item, and it was an blank array. Now remember, the useState constructor, when you say round bracket, inside that you can pass either a fixed value, either you want to pass null, or you can make it an array. So over here we passed square bracket, so it defines a blank array. Next was for the text box, that is input value, and again the second value of that useState is always a function or a method which will be called event and action. Basically it is an action, so that action will set value to this particular state. So input value and set input value, give it as a blank variable. Next thing we need for editing that particular values, because when it is an array we have to keep a track which item edit has been clicked. So for that we will be needing the index of this particular items. So for this we again create a state and we pass null to it, because first it should not be in edit mode. So null will set it to not edit mode, that is add mode. Next what we did was we created a function for handling the input. So we created a function name as handle input change. So that is the change event for this particular text box, and inside that we specified that set input value. We call the action of this state and set input value, and inside that we pass e.target.value. That e.target.value will set the value of this text box to your input value variable. So this is for just changing event of your text box. Next we have an event for handle add item. So for adding that item to the specific array we have to create another function. So for that we created a method and that is an ES6 function. We check whether the input value dot trim is not equal to null or blank, that is it should be filled with some value. Then we call set items action, and inside that we pass a spread operator. Now why spread operator? What we want to do is we always want to add to this array. First time the array will be blank, so one value will be added, but when I click on next, when we add another item, this item should be added to the existing. So when we type dot 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 items, it will create a copy of this particular array, and we specify input value inside that particular array. So it will be added again to that particular item there. And after that we clear the text box. For clearing the text box, we say set input value again and we make it blank. Next is for editing. For editing, we again create a handle edit item, and inside that now we have to pass the index. Now index has to be passed. Why? Because it is an array. Now we have to check which item has been clicked. So index will be 0, 1 and so on, because it is an array. So when I click on shoes, the index of shoes has to be passed. So that has to be handled by a variable. So we give an index over here. We again set the input value, because whichever value has been clicked, it should be printed over here. It should be filled over here. So filling that thing, you just say set input value, and you have to fill the value with the item itself. So which item has to be filled is items and the index of that item. And again we have to set the edit index also. So we say set edit item index equals to the index which is passed. So two things are over here. One is you are filling the text box, and second is you are setting the edit index state. After that you have to update that item. For updating, you again create a function, that is handle update item. Again it is an ES6 function, and we do as input value dot trim is not equal to blank. Again define const updated items equals to, we again make a copy of the actual items. After creating the copy, we find that particular item inside that copied item, that is updated item edit index equals to input value. So we add it to the updated items const which has been created over here. And then what we do is we again call set item action, and you pass updated items. So that updated item will be set inside your items array. So that item will be edited. After that we have to clean the text box again. Then we have to clean the edit index also. We say set edit index, again we pass null to it. So that will be null again. Last is your handle delete item. Again the same thing, you have to pass the index which item has to be deleted. And again we create a const updated items, and we say items dot filter. Now this dot filter is an ES6 advanced function which every programmer will be knowing, and I have this inside my JavaScript tutorial series also. Items dot filter, and that filter will take two parameters. One is your actual item and the second is the index. Over here we are not having the item actually, so we are just passing underscore for that particular item, and second value is I, that is your index. We just match it by this ES6 arrow function. I is not equal to index, then set item is equals to updated item. So that item will be filtered out of that array. So it seems it is deleted when you filter that item. Last is your handle submit function, that will be called on your button. We have created events for each and everything, but for this button you have to create one more event, and that event is your handle submit. And inside that we will be checking that if the edit index is set, if this edit index is set, then you have to call update item, and if it is not set, then you have to call handle add item. So first time it will call add item, whenever it will be clicked on edit, then it will call update item. Now creating the UI. For UI we just give an h1 over here and the input type text box. Now important thing is here that value property. Now inside value property you can see we have given the state name itself, that is input value, that is defined over here. So that state value is passed inside your value, and inside your text box the event will be on change, and to handle it we have already created a function named as handle input change. So we call it like this, on change equals to, you specify it inside your curly bracket, and in curly bracket you just specify the function name. So that is the handle input change. Next is your button. So for button also we have an event handle submit. So we again call the event as on click. Button will be an event as on click. input boxes have on change. So over here you say on click and then call handle submit. In handle submit, we want to change the printing. Printing has to be conditional, that whether edit index is set or not. If it is set, then you have to print edit item. If it is not set, then we have to print add item. So for that we checked over here. This is kind of short form of a if loop. So we say that if this is set, not equals to null, then you use a ternary operator. Inside the ternary operator you specify as edit item, or you print add item. So this is for your button. Now for printing of this particular section, we use UL, the UL tag. You specify the UL tag, and we use again the JavaScript function named as items.map. Now how items.map work? It works for each and every item. These items will be having whichever items which you have added. So right now there are 2 items, so this should travel for 2 times. So for traveling it for 2 times, we say map, and the map function itself takes an ES6 function. It is having 2 parameters, item and the index. So it will map each and every item one by one over here inside your item, and the index of the item will be passed over here. You specify li inside it, and li, this is an important thing. Remember, whenever you use a map function in your React, you have to pass a key to it. Now when you say key is something like as the index of that particular item, and then you pass that entire item over here, and item is passed inside a curly bracket. Now when you say button, that next button is for handle edit item, and you pass index over here, and that edit is passed. Next again we call handle delete item. Inside that also we pass index over here, and we write delete over here. So this is an inline function, inline ES6 function. On click you pass an ES6 function, and you call handle edit item. Inside that you pass index. So that index of that particular item will be passed. So it prints shirt over here. So this is how your entire application is working. Hope it was useful. For more training and tutorials, join our channel, subscribe it, and we will be bringing more tutorials on each and every language, React, Angular, and much more. Thank you.